Hi everyone, welcome to Snowfell Cinema, where we only do the most premium of tarot card movies. I'm going to lay out a movie script for you guys. I'm going to give you guys a movie review and let you know what's going on in the movie. And I'm going to, together we'll pull some confirmation cards to see if we can find a moral here. Sometimes it's really blatant, and sometimes kind of have to do a little bit of digging. Sometimes it's more about the movie, and sometimes it's more about the message. Just like regular movies. I'm gonna pull out. Let's see what we got here. I do. Just a little bit of that. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Might turn it down a little. Yeah, it's pretty good lighting. This reading kind of has like no anticipatory energy. Everything seems a little bit quiet, a little too quiet. I wonder what I hope our genre is going to be like a horror movie or something. Suspense, you know, it's giving a little bit of like suspenseful energy. Which could be, yeah, it could be really thrilling. It could be really thrilling. I can't wait to see what comes out of this. I don't think I want to do that. I guess I'll another card in here. Yep, 2. These 2 will go over here. And I think I would like 1 more. I got 2. Two more, 3 more. Okay, this is gonna be the end of. But this reading is complicated. This is gonna be a complicated movie. Complicated. Like a little bit, it's also giving a little bit like repetitive, like there's a pattern here that's a little bit wonky or not like straightforward. It's kind of organized in an interesting way, the movie. It's kind of like one of those things where you guys know Mojo, the movie review thing or whatever. Don't like it. Gonna be completely honest with you, don't like it. I'm not a fan of that. But it's kind of giving that things you didn't catch when the first time you watched it, or I bet you didn't catch this, or 5 things you didn't catch watching this movie for first way through. It's giving that energy. The genre of our movie is going to be The Adult of Cups. So this is going to be a high agreeability. High agreeability. For a movie, it's like it could be a feel good, or it could be a like we need to come together. Like this could be emphasis on sympathizing. So this could be a guilt tripping type of movie, or it could be like a world peace focused type of movie. Like I said before, like it could be a feel good. It could be a real feel good movie where everything like comes together, not just like our main character and like a possible love interest, but like their community, their like job. This is like something that's giving like Hallmark. It's giving Hallmark. It's giving Hallmark. It's giving Hallmark. um way out of the Christmas season, but it's giving. I do Hallmark. Does Hallmark do movies outside of Christmas? Um, that's what my family watches. Definitely my mom, and I'm pretty sure my sister really is into Hallmark movies. But definitely my mom. So Hallmark movies will be around during the Christmas time, and it's always nice. It's always nice. It's really cute. Someone's always being Santa, and that's cute. Um, it's real cute. Our main character here is, interestingly enough, for our Hallmark thing, is going to be the devil. Um, that the devil number is 6. Surprise, surprise. And that's gonna be all about return. So this is gonna be maybe like someone who's like, look, we might be following someone who's like maybe a drug addict. Oh, which really gives me. Have you guys seen? It was really popular, like Something House. Sorry, that doesn't help. Uh, um, it was on Netflix, and we followed a whole bunch of siblings as they tried to figure out what happened to their mom, and it turns out to be a real paranormal thing, very ghost. Like the kids see a ghost growing up or whatever, and the one kid, I think his name is Joe or Paul, something like simple like that, and he was like a real like sensitive kid, and he grew up with a drug addiction, and his drug addiction came from him trying to cope with the trauma of his like the supernatural things happening around. It could be like a character like this. This is definitely someone who's going through some, like they're fighting off demons. This is like in like very very like in order to come to center. This is going to be someone who is addicted to prescription pills, like or who cope with alcohol. I remember the one movie. There was another movie. I don't know if it was on Netflix. It could have been. I'm pretty sure it was, and it was a really long title, like the woman who watched their neighbor from out the window or something like that. Blonde lady. Um, she was living by herself, and she had a therapist on call, and she would fill her wine glass to the brim, and just look, watch her neighbors, and such and such happens. She starts falling in love with the neighbors. Crazy stuff happens. The neighbor has a kid. More crazy stuff happens. Crazy things happen with the kid. The whole thing was crazy. If it's still on there, definitely would recommend it. It's a popular actress. I can't remember her name, but I do love everything she's in. She just has that energy. She has a pretty nice energy, honestly. But it's giving that. This is someone who's like, or maybe it's definitely giving someone like a substance abuse, especially with the child of cups at the bottom. So this is someone who is like, yeah, childhood trauma, or like a childhood they can't shake. Some like it could be like confusion in childhood. It could be like death of a parent, or some strange circumstance that happened at childhood and they haven't like managed those emotions quite yet. Um, yeah. So they turn to some types of substance to kind of push that child. It's like kind of to humble that child, to sit on that child within inside, so that they have like an air of control, even though like this woman never leaves her house, and like nothing wrong with not leaving your house or anything like that, but I mean, yeah, I guess to have that control. Yeah, I'll just say that to have that control. No, we're not going to be comparative or anything like that because her staying in the house could be exactly what she wants to do. Don't, didn't ask her, didn't have an opportunity to jump into the movie and ask her, so I don't know. Above that, we have the Elder of Wands. So this is someone who is like, kind of like impulsive but strategic. So this is someone who is like just kind of like that movie where she would like kind of sneak around and she had to like this is like when you have to figure out something. This is like I was watching a episode of some series where it was like a detective thing, and one lady, I don't remember what the title of the series is, but one lady, she was pregnant, and she was having a home birth, and her neighbors who had just moved in, or maybe they just moved in, but their neighbors were being a little loud, noticeable, or whatever. So they go over there, and of course she's a detective, um, or a police officer, or both, and she notices something weird, and so she like sneaks around to get evidence to reveal the crime that the neighbors were doing. Like it's like when you have a hunch and now you have to get evidence to do it. It's giving like that. So yeah, I feel like we're watching that movie right now. This is someone who is like, yeah, this is someone who is like, I have to know, which is which is which is a choice. I mean, with the one where they're pregnant, that was more of stopping, like it's kind of like a preventative, protecting thing where they're like trying to stop a murderer. The neighbors turned out to have like murdered someone. But in the other movie, which I was talking about, like the woman who was watching her neighbor from outside her window, that long ass title or whatever. I love a movie with long ass title. That's how you know it's gonna be good. I mean, don't quote me on that because I'm sure there's a long ass title movie that's not good in your opinion, but in my opinion, I like it. Um, but in that one, there wasn't an obvious. Oh wait, I think she thought that her neighbor had killed his wife, and that's why she was all over that. So, because otherwise, I was gonna be like, oh, there was another movie. I think it was also a long titled movie like that, where another woman, she was shut in. She didn't leave her house or anything like that. She didn't like guess, but she saw outside her window something strange, and then she just really went through all the psychosis. And then a lot of people, like when she called the police and like something's not right. And when they came over there, they really like put it on like how many glasses of wine have you had tonight, or I see you're on these prescription pills. I mean, is your therapist, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Trying to discredit her, which, I guess you have to go through that filtering system as a professional or whatever. But in the movie, as you're watching it, because you're watching it with, everything as an audience member, it gets very like frustrating. Like, just listen to her. Just listen to her. But I could see how that could be a slippery slope. Um, let's see here. Let's start at the bottom again. next to the Page of Cups. So this is like this, you know, child wound, child feeling, child hope, child dreams. I don't know. Yet, on one side we have the Chariot, which is going to be 7, so that's struggle. So, and the Chariot's all about autonomy and stuff like that. So there's overcoming struggles and stuff like that. We also have the World, which is 21, which is 3. So that's striving for like a lot of people consider the world to be of completion, so like striving for like, I feel like it's literally like striving for like balance, alignment, purpose, something like that. Well, at least with the number 3, how I use my numbers or whatever. But yeah, this is someone who is, yeah, they had some childhood trauma or something like that. They're trying to get over it. Like it's heavy on the trying to like maintain control, and like there's a form of manifesting when it comes to like focusing on like like positive, but this is like, it's not like they're focusing on the positive just in their mentality. They're focusing on the positive, and like it's not like they focus on the positive. They focus on pushing the negative away when it comes to like substance abuse. It, you know, in my humble yet professional opinion, just because I said it doesn't mean you have to agree with it. Doesn't mean it's wrong, but it doesn't mean you have to agree with it. On either side of the Devil card, we have our main character here is going to be another 7 of Wands. It's like kind of like blatant struggle. And then we have another 3 of Swords. So this is like with this one, the striving turns into longing. So this is like grief, loss, memories, stuff like that, wanting to go back. So this is someone who is like, yeah, just like that movie, with that with that actress I was saying that I favored. This is someone who's like kind of struggling to keep it together, and this is someone who was like, you know, she seemed rather lonely, especially how her like story progressed, and she started getting interested in the neighbor guy, and after she couldn't prove that he killed his wife, he seemed like kind of cool. So she was like, you know, longing for that connection because she kind of really liked it. He had a daughter. She liked being there for the daughter too. Like I think she made a casserole or something like that. She was always making casseroles. That was so funny too. She was always making casseroles. In one scene, she like drops the casserole in the middle of the street, which would devastate me. Which would devastate me, to be honest with you, because you can't pick that up. And it would bother me so much that it would be just in the middle of the road like that. I would have to bring out a hose and wash that away. And the waste of food. Oh my god. Oh my god. And it looked pretty good. It looked pretty good. Or was it a pot pie? It was something like that. Casserole, pot pie. It looked pretty good. Really cute that she brought it over there, I thought. But yeah, this is someone who is like, especially with the childhood trauma, trying to get over it, masking it with a level of control, but yet still struggling, is kind of giving me like the you got a crack in your mask. You know, you're kind of leaking out. Your energy's leaking out. Because that's heavy stuff that you haven't addressed. You know, you need to sort through all that. It's like kind of like putting all of the clothes you don't wear in your closet, but it's so full you can't even shut the door, kind of thing. So next to the Elder of Wands, which we were talking about, like being very investigative, very like kind of like impulsive but clever about it. we have the Elder of Swords and the Ace of Wands, which I think kind of reiterates this energy. The Elder of Swords is going to be like taking in a lot of information and processing it and applying it. This is someone like the Elder of Swords is someone who puts two and two together. Like you can't get over on this person. So it's kind of giving me like, you know, it's like that when the woman saw that the like what she assumed was the ex-wife, current wife or whatever getting murdered. It was kind of like, I know what I saw. It's giving that the Elder of Swords is giving, I know what I saw. And the Ace of Wands is giving like ambition, like willingness to do, like almost an unstoppable energy, especially compare like these two together just makes to me the Elder of Wands. So this is someone who's really adamant about finding the truth, getting into it. Like, you know, they're willing to get dirty. They're willing to look crazy, as long as the end result is clarity. Which I think is, yeah, I think that's exactly what happened in that movie. I think that's exactly like she was willing to embarrass herself for clarity. Yeah. I think that's why I like that actress because she's not afraid to play the character that's going to like embarrass himself. I'm sure that's very I you know what I think it resonates with me because I'm sure that's very freeing. I think I would love to play a character who was like kind of all over the place. If I'm not already playing that character in my like real life movie world. But well, actually, no. I think it would be really fun to play a character who's like sneaking around and stuff like that, because it's a set or whatever. So, in real life, I wouldn't want to do that because that's the like. Well, I don't know. Maybe if I saw my neighbors, what I assumed was my neighbors killing someone, I might be like, well, what about the other people in the house? Or who's going to be their next victim? Or, you know, I would be kind of a little bit concerned about how, and like, it's very intrusive to murders. I mean, it's very intrusive to unalive someone. And so I would not be a fan of that. I would not be a fan of just letting that happen. Um, On the side, let's see, with the Elder of Swords, the Seven of Wands, and the Chariot, yeah, this is someone who is like kind of like desperate to not seem crazy. So next to that energy, we have, yeah, let's start with this. Next to the energy as our base, we have the Ace of Cups. So this is someone who's like, you know, they're a little bit desperate not to seem crazy because they're kind of like, they kind of feel crazy, you know, they kind of feel like, you know, stressed, pressed, and confused. You know, they feel stressed, pressed, and confused, and they're desperate to not feel that way. Easy, easy peasy. Again, a lot of repetition here because on the other side, where we have the Ace of Wands, the Three of Swords, and the World, that's also giving a very much like, it's kind of like it's kind of like I'll do what's right. Is trying to like is really that impulse to like rectify the inner child without understanding that is what you're doing. It's very much like I have to save other people, but not realizing that's your attempt to save yourself, which I think is something that other people need. Well, I mean, I'm gonna bring the information to you. What you do with it is what you do with it. But I do think that it's important before you take on a role of, you know, savior or like civil servant or something like that, that you understand that that is a little bit more about you than it is about other people. So that when things happen out of your control, you're not devastated, and so that you're not immensely attached to whoever you're providing care to. And I think that happens a lot with, I think that happens a lot when you work in, at least in my experience, working in the mental health facility. I see that happen a lot. Like some people, and it also depends on, like some people really fall into it. Like if you work with kids, then it's really much like, I've done it before too. And I've done it before too. I've really taken on some of that, oh, just give him a chance, blah blah blah. And this was a hard lesson for me because and it wasn't a lesson that I learned during working there or like shortly after. It took some time for me to realize what I was doing, but I was putting myself in their place and trying to support me, but not realizing that they have a whole different background, they have a whole different future, they have a whole different like support system, a whole different mentality, a whole different goal, like a whole different like soul. um so you can be like, it's like kind of like, it's kind of like when you give like a kid an extra snack, especially like in the middle of the night. Me personally, like my metabolism's so fast that I get hungry really, really fast. And if I'm hungry, my mood is terrible and I cannot sleep. Okay. So when someone's like, can I have this, like blah blah blah, especially if they say like, I just want this and I'll go to sleep, and I'm like, oh, it's me. And of course I would give me this because I know that I'm telling the truth. But later on you kind of learn that like this is like a particular game of theirs. This is like, some people will use that to control you. Some people, and some people can see it on you, like your ability to sympathize, and so they'll use that to like, and I want to say like, not in like, I don't think it's always in such a harsh way, but like to like control you, to get one over on you. And it's not, and I think especially for kids, but this could be me putting myself in their place of giving them grace, like I would give me grace. Like try to explain for them how I would explain for myself. So again, it's like it is still very difficult to separate that. um but what I was going to say was, I think they'll do that at a form of safety. Like if they can control you, they feel safer, um, which makes a lot of sense. But they can still have like that urge for more. So it can be a quick domino effect. And some things as simple as like giving attention. Um, yeah, if they feel, if some people feel like if you, and you can do this with elderly people too. I've definitely seen that done before, especially with people with parent wounds. So if you have like an inner child wound, you could, when you see another child, you could project yourself onto them and project them as more innocent than they are. Not, without trying to be comparative. I'm not trying to say that, um, the kids that I worked with weren't innocent, but I think that they have, you can learn like maladaptive behaviors from your surroundings, your parents, your neighborhood, your other friends, the other people, especially in a facility in which you like live closely with other people. You can pick up on habits that other people do. Um, and you can do that subconsciously, unconsciously, or just like as a form of normality, or like to fit in or something like that, in this, peer pressure and all that stuff. But yeah, some people can do that, can project their innocence onto kids, and some people can project their innocence onto older people, um, especially like people who, like when you work in the mental health facility, like if you work at a mental health facility or a hospital or something like that, you'll often run into, if you work with older people, you can run into people who are dealing with dementia or Alzheimer's, or some type of like cognitive confusion. So you can sympathize with that. And sometimes you'll sympathize with them, and then you'll run into like another patient or client that is, um, a psychopathic, and they'll pick up on that, and they'll act innocent until you're not giving them what they want or you're holding them accountable. Um, but a lot of people will be like, oh, like, not like a lot of people, like I've done this before too, like for me, I don't know why it's always like a food thing, but I'll run into like an adult client or whatever, and they'll be like, you know trying to like, humble me, or exert some type of control over me or power over me, so they don't feel like they don't have control or power. And my go-to is like, okay, well, maybe you're a little cranky, maybe you need some food or whatever like that. And I think that some people will, like, will kind of use that as an opening. Like, I'm remembering one particular client, as an opening to allow some of that emotionality out. Like, I could imagine, not to say that this happened, but I could imagine that someone could, like, allow themselves to get hungry so that they can allow those emotions, so they can say whatever they want, knowing that this particular employee, me, is gonna just offer you a cereal bar, and then you can have the cereal bar, you can come out and you can apologize, and you can seem like a good person. It's like kind of like a good, not a good one, but it's kind of like an easy trick on yourself to allow your dark side and your light side to exist, but not at the same time. Because if they exist at the same time, you kind of have to constantly hold yourself accountable, and that's not comfortable for a lot of people. So like, if you have a dark side and someone will say, oh, it's not you, it's your appetite, then they'll be excused from their darker persona, if that makes sense. That way, when they have an outlet, when you give them the cereal bar, it's so they have an outlet, so that it can be like, oh, this is the real me. Now that I'm all composed and I can put my mask back on, this is the real me. Not realizing that both are the real you. You throwing the temper tantrum is you, just like you are the person who will apologize afterwards. And the more that you, or the better you understand that, the better those things can exist at the same time, so you don't have to do that back and forth. Especially like, because there's going to be some people who aren't going to go for that particular game. um so like, when you're all like huffy and blah blah blah, they might not offer you food to make you feel better. So then you have to maintain this, you know restless, irritated energy, um, until you can eat some food in front of them and show them, like, oh, that's not the real me. Like, it's a little bit of a game. And of course, like, when I was dealing with it, it didn't process to me until, like, we're doing this reading now. And that's why I love doing these readings, especially general, not thinking about it, watching a movie. Like, I don't have to be like, this is me or this is you, but this is just something to talk about. I think that it's really easy for people to, well, I think it's really easy for people like me to fall into that, like, let me help you when you're being mean to me. When you're being mean to me, my urge is to help you, which is kind of like a conditioning thing. Um, I kind of forget where we are. Oh, well, yeah, I know, I remember where we are in the movie, but and I don't know why we went through this whole little tangent, but I think it's kind of good to talk about. Um, and I was gonna say too, like, you can do this, and it's like, kind of like, especially if you have a family wound. So like, if this person is like closer to you in age, you could be like, this, I'm helping my sibling. Or if this is older than you, like a parent age, you could be like, I'm helping my parent. Or if this is way older, I'm helping my grandparents or great grandparents. You can project this familial energy onto people when it comes to being like a public servant or a civil servant. I think those are the same thing. Um, and I think like this, our movie character here, um, is doing something very similar. Especially if it was like for this one, for the movie I was talking about, when it comes to like domestic violence or women's right, this could be you um, trying to save your own autonomy in a like concrete. As soon as I get this evidence, it'll be finished and over, and everything will be happy type of energy, which is very much this adult of cups energy, whereas like kind of like when everything's all said and done, everything will be perfect. And I think this person's really striving for that result. But it won't come to you in personally if it doesn't matter how many people you save. If you're not saving yourself, you're not saving yourself. If you are still in need of help and you're not giving yourself that help, you'll always need that help. You can't project it. You can't help other people and think that it's going to like by association help you. And I think that's a mental trick that people don't always pick up on, or I didn't pick up on for the longest. I definitely didn't pick up on that energy before I went into the mental health field. And they don't really like, there are little like programs and stuff like that you can go through, and it's supposed to be like your mental exercise type of thing. But even if you go through it, if you're not prepared to help yourself at that moment, then you're not going to help yourself at that moment. So it doesn't really matter. Like, you can give the information. It's again like you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And I think a lot of mental health facilities rely on bringing the horses to water, and they're not really too much worried about if you're drinking it, if you're not drinking the water. Which I think can be really like damaging to both employee and client. Yeah, because the client will exacerbate their maladaptive behavior, like this pouty, tantrum, childlike, and it's so funny. Like when you work in mental health, I think it really kind of changed my perspective on people. But when you work in mental health, you really do kind of see everyone as like a child. You kind of think of everybody as like kind of needing help, and especially like when you work in mental health and you work with employee, like your fellow employee, your coworkers and stuff like that, and you hear about what they're talking about or how they react to the clientele or the patients, you kind of realize like you're not really any different, and you'll start. And like I think towards the end of like when I decided to not be a part of that environment anymore, I was at a moment when I was realizing like, wow, I'm very much like the clients I'm trying to help. Like I'm very, very like, and I guess, and I didn't process this, and like it was almost like I'm very much like the clients I'm trying to help, but instead of being like, oh well, then I should like work on me or whatever. I mean, like I did, but I didn't really think of it like that. I thought of it a little bit more like, well, who am I to try to help them? That was like, that was the thing. It was like a little bit like, well, I don't have it all together, so why am I acting like I could change their lives in a meaningful way in which they can actually grow up and be an adult, especially in that environment when like a lot of the kids, after they're done with this, they go to like juvie or back to their original environment and stuff like that. So I'm like, what am I actually doing here? It's like kind of like I'm just helping this facility hold these kids, especially last one was with kids, but it's like we're just holding these kids so that it's like we're just holding them. We're not helping them. We're just keeping them here. And if I can't help you, and there's not even like, if I can't help you and you are like triggering my like need to comfort my inner child is like, this doesn't seem helpful for anybody, you know? That's how I left it. I was like, this does not seem helpful for anybody. And I think that's the reason why I started digging into like the ideas of what it is to like socialize with other people, how it is to interact with other people. What is the goal here? Like, what is the point of having like kids, especially when you hear about, like, I know this is a super long rant, but I think it's really important. Um, but I think like it's kind of crazy, like when you like people have kids all willy nilly, and then when you work at a mental health facility, you hear a lot about like kids like being abandoned or not being visited or not like they'll have phone calls with their parents, and then you'll kind of get an idea of like it's like it's both of them. It's both of them. It's like fire and gasoline. Like their interaction with each other is just kind of like terrible. Like they definitely trigger each other to an extreme extent. And I'm like kind of like, why would you have like a kid anyway? And it makes me wonder, and like, should more people work in the mental health facility? Because like if you see what's happening here, like I don't think you would have an urge to have a kid, because they can turn out completely, they can come out completely like a trigger. And I think a lot of like family members um work in this world, and like if this world was a dream, like your family members would show up as a reflection, is a reflection of a part of yourself that is supposed to trigger you into progression. So it's almost like you always, like, you have to fight off your family. But I think that a lot of people have kids before they've processed the lessons they were supposed to learn from their immediate or extended family. And so they find themselves like, it's kind of like, if you don't learn the lesson one way, you'll learn the lesson another way. It's not like you can avoid learning a lesson if you need the lesson in order to like keep moving. Otherwise you're like stuck on the same, it'll be like you just repeat the same level, which has the same obstacle. So if you don't get over the obstacle and go to the next level, you'll always have to deal with that same obstacle. So like if you have like if you have like if you have a mother who doesn't support you, or you have a father who is like kind of ashamed of you, or you have like grandparents that put a lot of pressure on you, like when you have a kid, it's going to be kind of like that same energy. You're going to have a kid that who doesn't respect you, who is embarrassed by you, and who thinks that you wasted your potential. It's going to be that same energy. If you don't get over that, you're going to have to see it just in another face, and it's going to be really detrimental to feel your bad caregiver's energy in behind the face of your newfound connection. That's going to be very devastating to you. Yeah, it's going to be very devastating to you, but it's something that it's kind of like and that's why I try to provide this water, because when you know that, you won't be able to be like, why did that happen? Or, you won't be confused. It's a little bit like, what did you expect? You didn't learn the lesson, so how do you expect to get to the next level if you didn't learn it? Like, what were you thinking? What did you think was going to happen? Did you think about it? And I think a lot of people don't think about it. Which, whatever you want to do, if you want to have kids all willy-nilly and not think about it, then I think that's fine. If you don't want to address your familial wounds before you start a whole new family, then whatever, I guess. I mean, it's really detrimental to your child. So honestly, I would say that that's child abuse if you do that. I think it is, and you can come at me in the comments if you want. But if you don't, and not that you have to be perfect or whatever, but you just have to, at least you have to address the issue, so that when it shows, like, you have to at least know. You have to at least know. You have to at least try, attempt. Like, you can't just push it away. Not to say that just because you don't have like a buddy buddy relationship with your family that you are you're not over it or you haven't processed it, because sometimes processing and healing it is not having that connection at all, you know, or having it superficial, or putting up some type of boundary or whatever. But if you don't do any of that, and especially if you're in the mindset of like, well, they did this to me, and I'm like this now, and that's why I have to do cocaine in order to like go to work. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, but I have to do all kinds of substances to just make it through the day, and like that's a good sign for you. That's a good thing to think about, as a possible sign for you not having had recovered from your parental wounds or your familial wounds. Yeah, if you think that you can, I really do think that I think that if you think that you can overcome somebody through some type of like emotional influence or physical influence, if you think you can control the situation, then I don't think that you got the lesson. That doesn't mean that you can't continue on with the rest of your life and not having that lesson and still trying to use that tactics. You can do whatever you would like to do, but personally, I would not consider that a form of you healing, because you're trying to force something to happen that's not happening. What you need to do is accept it. That's what healing is. To me, again, you can have a different idea of what healing is, and you can run with it. But here on this channel, that's not what that is. You can't make anyone do anything. First, you can't make anyone do anything. All you can do is hope that they listen to you. And if you do intentionally try to make someone do anything, that is manipulation, and that to me is intrusive. You're not letting someone live their life. You're trying to make them into something they're not, so that you would feel comfortable, and that's only because you don't feel comfortable with yourself. So learn to be comfortable in your own skin. Honestly, that's the only way for that's the only way that you're going to convince me, if you're trying to convince me that you are ready to raise a child or care for anyone. Honestly, you need to be comfortable in your own skin. You need to be able to just, you know, you need to be comfortable in your skin, as if like no one else in the world, like if everyone else in the world left and they couldn't give you praise or acceptance or what you consider love, where would you get that love? You can manufacture that love for yourself, and manufacture, not in like you can produce it, like you can naturally produce love for yourself, or at least I think some people, I think a lot of people can. I think a lot of people don't know how to, or they don't put the effort into doing it. I think a lot of people do know how to, but they don't put the effort into it, because we talk about it all the time, like self-care and taking care of yourself, boundaries and space for yourself, and that work-life balance and your personal values and all the other stuff, the gratitude lists, all those things. Like if you can't do those things that I just listed, then you're not you can't you caring for another person is you attacking them. That's the only way it's going to be interpreted by the person that you're being cared for. You're just going to try to control them, tell them what to do. When they don't do it, you're going to be pressed. You're going to be like desperate for them to listen to you. Like you're going to put all your eggs into what you consider a victim. You're going to put all your eggs into that victim, so that you can portray being a hero, so that you don't have to feel bad about yourself. But being a hero is almost as bad as being a victim, personally. You're just self-sacrificing yourself for no reason at all, or like you're if you're a victim, then you're just demanding that other people self-sacrifice you for no reason at all. Like, so, um, yeah, you will only do harm that way. And I think the blah blah. No, there's the educational system is not informing you on this type of personal growth. They're not. I mean, philosophy isn't something that is taught to you. It's taught to you. The opportunity to learn about philosophy is just way too late, in my opinion. I think that you, from the get go, you should be learning what it means to exist. I mean, come on, oh, come on. I mean, that's the only thing that babies do is try to rationalize existence. And you're just gonna be like, oh, you'll just do that when you go to college. That's just crazy to me. Like you're really setting them up for failure that way. Um, and hopefully they get to the point in which they can like they can indulge in that type of thinking, that big outworld, like big picture thinking, so that they can understand not just the world around them but who they are, and how that interacts with each other and what control they have. I think a lot of people are like desperate for control because we don't teach them that you do have a level of control, and that's called autonomy. But instead, they have like instead there's pressure to learn like algebra and stuff like that. Which I love algebra. Algebra is really fun, but trigonometry also kind of fun. I love geometry. The maths are fun, and it's good to know about that. But while you're learning about that, just like you're learning about, your language arts, or you're learning about like, chess or an instrument or a sport or something like that, you should be kind of learning what it means to be human, so that you can be a human and not just like a product, like especially how school is like set up with the SATs, um the grade system. Like you're just being what is it, like credited, valued by your ability to produce something, and not valued for who you are. It's like, how well can you listen to rules? How compliant are you? How willing are you to like push yourself to do things that you might not even necessarily be into? Like, especially when it comes to like things that are given to you at a very young age, like, or encouraged in you to pursue at a very young age. You haven't, and you could luck out. You could absolutely luck out, and what you were doing from a young age is exactly what you want to do forever. But not a lot of people are lucky enough to have that experience. So I think it's really important that we sympathize with other people who are pushed into um, performances that do not progress them. So I think a lot, like I do for my tarot card readings, when it comes to like age stages. I think when it comes to children, um, exploring things, wrapping their head around as many things as possible, and I think as many things as possible that apply to like because when you're a child, your brain is a sponge; it'll absorb everything. So if you talk about things about like being alive, um, dying, the afterlife, like, people will go heavy on their like personal religions, but I think when it comes to openness, it should be like an a interdisciplinary type of scope when it comes to spirituality. Like, you should learn about all types of spirituality. Like, what do people do when other people die? Like, I took a psychology of death class in college, and I think that was really, really enlightening. And it was such an elective. It was such an elective. It was really, you didn't need to take it. Um, Such an elective. And I found it probably the most impactful class I've ever taken, token, token. It was a token. It was the token of the school. Like, you know, I haven't taken every class there, but I have never experienced a more like humanitarian class before. And I think that when you're a kid, you should learn about yeah, humanitarian things, like, or at least where I think a lot of times, I think when it comes to like the child prodigy or child star type of energy, it's not allowing a child to find themselves. It's you projecting what you think your child should be, and that's a form of control. And you're taking away your child's autonomy, which can backfire exceptionally hard for both parties. Um, So, when you're in child mode, you should be, just exposed to a lot of different types of like thinking, especially when it comes to like, I think, how we exist in the world. Um, take it as it resonates, apply what you want to apply. I can't follow you around and make you do what I think you should do. So I'm not even going to put the effort into pretending I will. Um, but as you get into the adolescence, which I think is all about expression, like extroversion, that's when you should be experimenting, like, the things like getting in trouble, going out, not being, you know trapped, not being controlled, not being frightened into not exploring the world or seeing new things. And like, there are some scary things in the world, of course, but it's you're supposed to at least express yourself, your individuality. You're supposed to take the openness from being a child and now start experimenting with some things that have resonated, some things that stuck with you while you moved into like puberty. And then after you're there in your extroversion area where you have all your energy and you're touching this and this and this and this and this and this, when you become an adult, that's when the trait of agreeability becomes so important. So that now that you've experimented, you kind of learn who you are, whatever, or who you want to present. You started playing with that, putting on different hats and stuff like that. When you reach adulthood, your level of adulthood, and I mean in your mind, not so much in your body, because it can, depending on genetics and upbringing and stuff like that, it could be different times or whatever. But when you reach adulthood is when you start taking your new identity or whatever, and you start finding like a place in which you belong. Like, this is where you find your community. You join a club, an association, a committee, something like that, where it just aligns. So then when you don't have to sacrifice the expressive visual aspects of yourself as a child, or not a child, as an adolescent. So like, if you did go through like a crazy color hair phase, if it and it's so funny too, because if we went through it like this type of ladder system, a lot like people who are adults with colored hair, it wouldn't be considered a phase. Or like when a teenager colors their hair, it wouldn't be considered a phase, or they do this or they wear that or whatever. It wouldn't be considered a phase per se. As you get into adulthood, it becomes into alignment. So when you're going through the phases as adolescent, you are seeking alignment. And when you get into adult, and agreeability is so important, you find alignment, and then you find more alignment in your environment. So you're part of communities that don't ask you to be different, because that's not the point. It doesn't seem like the point of being a human being. The point of human being isn't to be all the same, or to uniform yourself amongst other people. It's for you to be who you are and be around other people who are also like you, so that you're not fighting anything. You're not fighting yourself, you're not fighting others. And then when you move on from that step and you go into the elder phase, you've learned how to hone that. That's when you get I think that would be interesting, and that's when you can get what is considered a career. And I would say that it makes a lot more sense for you to have a career at an older age, because you have found yourself so much. You know, you've taken the openness of being a child, the extroversion of being an adult, or being an adolescent, and the agreeability of being an adult. So now, like, you're in the community, so now you can work on an expertise. Like, you could be a professional in a certain sense, you know, because you followed your personal path all the way to the end. You know, like, you have, you know, you have the experience, the passion, the understanding, and now you have the structure. And I think that's how it should work. I think that's how it should work. So, like, you know, yeah, especially pressuring your child to be really good at something while they're a child is crazy to me. Pressuring an adolescent to be like uh, like stable, it's crazy to me. Pressuring an adult to be like so independent or isolative, like they have to be the very best, like that's just crazy to me. um and taking away an elder's title of profession, like when you reach a certain age you should be like, I do this. You know, it's not like I did this until I retired and now I'm retired and I just do whatever. You know, it's, you know, that's all of this to me, and you can agree if you want to. It's not going to change how I think, but I just think that everything is really working against like what seems like a natural progression. You know, I don't know. It just seems like math to me. You can put in the comments what you think about that is. You know, maybe you might put something in there that I haven't thought about. It could change up my structure a little bit or a lot, honestly. You know, I don't know. I don't know what you know. But you know, if you're gonna put in the comment like, I just don't agree with that, then you just don't agree with that and you don't need to leave a comment for it. But you can if you want to, because again, I'm not gonna tell you what to do. But yeah, that was, I mean, we're already at an hour and haven't read the last cards, but the last six, I have six more cards to read and I haven't even pulled in confirmation. But I do think like I stand highly on this idea of progression. I stand highly on this idea of progression and how we should, how I would like to, how I would have liked to, how I would. I mean, that's so kind of funny too, because I can't go back to being a child and I can't go back to being adolescent. And so as an adult, I should be focusing on harmony. And I think I am. I'm trying to, well, I think I am participating in my like community by making these videos and talking about what I think and stuff like that. I'm a thinker, and that's where I belong. Um, it wasn't an easy, like, well, I mean, I do think my childhood was a little bit like, my childhood was a little bit open, not completely open, and my adolescence was a little bit. I've definitely had friends that were a little bit more expressive than me, or had a little bit more energy than me. But you know, like if you're watching this and you're a rather older individual and you don't feel like you've exercised any of these steps, you know, I guess I would suggest to just um start over for yourself in a sense. You aren't, you like you've if you're an adult or older, then you know you've made it to some level of you can't tell me what to do energy. So if you want to take some time to just like, lots of confirmation burps, if you would like to take the opportunity to just look at new things, explore new things, like, you know, like I think a lot of people put a lot of, I understand that our current world, at least here in America, does not allow, it's not, it's very strict. I get that. I get that. But the you complying to the strictness will never alleviate anything. you are going to have to fight against the strictness in order to alleviate some of that pain. You're going to have to take your medicine if you want to feel good, and there's no other way around it. I know the medicine doesn't taste good. It's not convenient to remember to take your medicine, but like, and I mean, like, yeah, like, in a spiritual, and this could be like a home remedy type of medicine. It doesn't have to be like industrial medicine, like, because I have an opinion about that. But if you're supposed to drink a cup of ginger tea and honey every day, but you don't like the taste of honey, it's going to be the same thing. It burns a little bit, and you have to remember to do it no matter what emergency called, whatever anyone says is an emergency or demand of you or whatever. You're going to have to make sure that you take that remedy. Or you're not going to be remedied. Duh. Duh. I mean, like, I don't want to be harsh with you or anything like that, but like, if you don't do the work, you'll never feel better. And I understand that the work is hard, but you'll never feel better if you're stuck at the work seems hard. You're not going to be better. You're just not. And if you're okay with it, then you're okay with that. And personally, I would love for you to shut up. I would. I was trying not to be like harsh with you, but I would like for you to just stop complaining. I would love for you to just stop talking about how you're a victim. I would love for you to stop talking about how like you are better when you're not better. I'm tired of hearing about how you're helping people when you're not helping people. I'm tired of hearing the inconsistencies, right? So if you're miserable and you're okay with that, just shut up. Close it. Just shut up. Just shut up. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. You can go talk to some other, I'm going to say fool. I don't want to be harsh to the other people I'm talking to, but anyone who listens to you complain is a fool. Their time is being wasted with your complaints. Their thought energy is being wasted by even thinking about a solution for you, and their space is being wasted because it could be filled with something that brings them delight. Complaining about something never brings anyone delight. I say as I can, well, yeah. Yeah, I'm not even going to put that on me, because I could say like I complained this whole time or whatever, but no, I'm not complaining as in like giving, like, it would be different if I was complaining and be like, oh, blah blah blah, so terrible, blah 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 blah, but I'm not bringing any suggestion to you. That's complaining. If you're talking about how the world could be better, that's not complaining. If you're talking about how like you could be better with like an actual like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, that's not complaining. If you're complaining like, oh, blah, like, it's something about me is out of whack and there's no way to fix it, shut up. Shut up. Shut up. You're wasting space. You're wasting airspace. You're not talking about anything that can be talked about. You're not talking about anything that can be talked about. What am I supposed to do with that information? What am I supposed to do with that information? Just be like, oh, I hope I never end up like you. Well, how does that help? That just has me focused on negativity, when I could be focused on my higher self instead of worrying about being my lower self. Stop. Just stop. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Just don't bring that to me. Don't bring that to me. You can bring that to, again, whatever fool wants to listen to that, but don't bring that to me. Let's see what we have here for the rest of our cards. Above the person, I don't know if you remember, but I remember, but our Ace of Cups was representing how this person just feels like they're crazy. Surrounding that energy, we have the Death card, the Fool card, and the Eight of Wands, which is, without breaking everything down, because I just talked a whole bunch of everything, so I'm going to run through this. But this is giving me, this is transformation. This is Dark's journey of the soul. This is becoming better. This is kind of like, for this movie, it seems like this person is trying to help someone and realizing, like maybe having flashbacks about their childhood, realizing that, you know, it's like if they looked at the child in the movie, it was like they were looking at them for a second and before they went back to being their original, like the actual child of the movie or whatever, or whoever this person's saving, child, husband, wife, whatever. So this is someone who is like, I guess this is someone who had to go through the physical motion, something a little bit more concrete, more pentacles energy in order to, well, it's a lot of wand energy, but you know, more concrete, more material, to help process this. This is maybe someone who is like, maybe got stuck in the contemplation phase, the conceptual phase or whatever, and they needed a reason to act on it. And I think this is the reason why these kind of interesting things happen to people. It's like the universe is like, okay, well, you thought about it enough, it's time for you to practice, kind of thing. Which I think is the reason why I get thrown into situations that are just kind of like, you know, unnecessarily crazy. And on the far side, where we have the Ace of Swords, and that just represents like, you know, kind of like just doing what's right. Yeah, doing what you know is right. We have another 8, the 8 of Cups. We have the Adolescent of Pentacles and the 2 of Pentacles. So I think this is someone who is, this is someone who is like having to take the time to think about themselves, even if this is after everything that happened, like, you know, the crazy stuff, the drama in the movie. This is like someone who's like taking the time to like we see them talking to their therapist and they stop, you know, with the substance abuse, and they started being more a part of their community, like that adult energy, like being a part of a community. It's giving a little bit like, now this is someone who's like taken their boon from their hero's journey, and they're slowly applying it like in a comfortable speed, like they're again very much in alignment, just there now. Do we want to pull any confirmation cards for this? I talked a lot about, I don't know if it's like a moral per se. I think there's a lot of morals that you can take out of that when it comes to like child rearing and familial boundaries and things like that. But maybe I'll just pull, let's just do this one card. We have the High Priestess. Let's do the bottom of the deck too. The High Priestess and the 2 of Cups. So this is like, yeah, this is giving me find alignment, find yourself. Yeah, be comfortable in your own skin. Be comfortable being like, yeah, alone. Like providing that companionship for yourself, that level of love, that self-respect. Yeah, all that, like, you know, listen to your intuition. Yeah, listen to your intuition, not expectations or chasing status or pleasing other people. People who pressure you to please them are trying to control you. Simple. They're trying to emotionally control you. If you've seen Steven Universe, I just saw a scene where Blue Diamond, after Steven Universe realizes who they are, spoilers alert if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, I would say go watch it, but I was a little bit I have feelings about it, I have an opinion about that. So I'm just gonna tell you, you can pause now if you want. But I saw a scene where Steven was in his, you know, he was on the planet, whatever planet, the colony or whatever, with the other diamonds, if you know, you know. And Blue Diamond was upset about something and threw her like little power thing at Steven, and it makes them, their power is that the Blue Diamond's power is to make other people cry. So which is a crazy representation I think, of emotional abuse from a caregiver. And Stephen, he says that this isn't normal. How many times have you made, his past life, Pink Diamond? How many times did you make her cry? How many times did you make Pink Diamond cry? Just because you felt like it, just because you couldn't control the impulse to abuse your power against someone you care about. And then Blue Diamond was like taken aback by it, and it was like, actually, yeah, you're right. I guess that's the reason why Pink Diamond left and didn't want to be a part of the family anymore, because I abused her without even thinking about it, because I wanted to control her, and the way that she wanted to control her was through emotionality. Yeah, sentimentality, to pull on her heartstrings. And that's why I am a big advocate on emotional abuse being probably being the most sinister of abuses, just because it really shakes up like your intuition, your clarity. It stops you from moving in life and becoming your higher self. It really is, your soul sucking. You're really just It's just really evil. It's just really evil. Evil. Because I know a lot of people think like words like love, hate, evil, things like that are strong words, but that's evil. It's just evil. And I know people will be like, well, physical abuse is just as bad or whatever, or they'll try to say that physical abuse is worse because you can see it. But I think that's a reason why that emotional abuse is the most evil. That's why I don't condone manipulating people, that Machiavellian shit. I'm not into it. How to make your man do blah blah blah. I'm not here to it. How to get women to cheat. I'm not into that. I'm not into that. I'm not into the motive of like men love bitches. I'm not into that. I'm not into that. I'm not into that. That it's just not. It's just not. I'm like, there's some things in it. Like I have like there's a book called that. So I'm not calling out the book, but I think that that kind of mindset, without people like diving into it, because I think that some of those things can provide ideas of self worth, boundaries, and stuff like that. But when it comes to trying to make someone do something, or like how to get your man back, or how to get your girl back, or how to how to get ahead at work or whatever it is, like I really like, especially if it is about abusing other people. And I'm gonna say that it is a trigger, I guess. But when it comes to like trying to make other people do something that you want them to do, and you're gonna use emotions to do that, I think it's just really, really, really evil. It's just really evil. Just really evil. I will. You can, and if you're mad at me for saying that, you're evil. I don't know what to tell you, or at least you're acting evil. I'm not gonna say that your whole personhood is evil, but you're definitely using some evil tactics, gaslighting, all the narcissistic, psychopathic, sociopathic, which I think is now borderline. Was it borderline personality disorder or something like that? I don't know. That sneaky shit. I'm not here for that sneaky shit. Okay, I'm not here for that sneaky shit. Come correct or don't come at all. And if you're a person who wants people to come to you incorrect, then yeah, that's a choice. That's a choice. Um, that's a choice. If you want other people to accept you coming to them wrong, I mean that's also very strange. That's a very strange thing to think that you're entitled to, especially if you're gonna try to do it, and then when someone catches you, you can't hold yourself accountable, or you resist accountability. And like that's also these are very strange and interesting choices that you're making. Very, very interesting. Um, very, very, very immature. Very immature. And you're really taking the aspect of the emotionality of being adult, and you're really corrupting it. You're again, that's dark energy. That's just real straight dark energy. Um, yeah, I would say that if you're a person who doesn't want to exude dark energy, I would definitely look at that. Michael Jackson said, you gotta look at the man in the mirror, you know? You gotta look at yourself because, I'm gonna keep talking about this stuff, and the people who don't want to feel this way aren't gonna let you feel this way, or are not gonna let you do these things. The people who don't want to feel this way aren't gonna allow you to make them feel that way. And I'm not the only one talking about this, so you can. Yeah, I'm not the only one talking about this. So if you want to keep fighting the entire world so that you can control and abuse other people, then best of luck to you. I don't see how you're gonna get any success out of that. But best of luck to you. Or actually, you know what? I'm gonna take my luck back. I'm gonna take that back. I'm gonna use that for me. You can go kick rocks. That's how I feel about it. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I did. If you didn't enjoy this video, then that's a choice, and I respect that. I hope that you have a wonderful morning, day, afternoon, evening, or night. If you don't want to have a wonderful morning, day, afternoon, evening, or night, then that's your choice, and I completely respect it. All right, bye, guys.